I'm Dr. Michelle Lloyd.
Well, hello and welcome to your Pointers for Parents live stream, where we support parents with anxiety as it relates to teens transitioning out of the home after high school, whether they're heading off to the college campus, the military base, or it could simply just be residential interdependence. Listen, I am your host for this episode. I'm Dr. Michelle Lloyd, and joining us for today, oh my goodness, I am super excited, is Dr. Michael K. Herndon. Listen, I met Dr. Herndon in 2016 when my very own daughter was heading off to Virginia Tech. And was I nervous? Absolutely. Did I have a little bit of anxiety? Absolutely, because I knew she was heading out of the home here in Texas and going all the way 17 driving hours away to Blacksburg, Virginia, where there were going to be hundreds and thousands of students on the campus. And they were going to come to the campus with a plethora of backgrounds. And so such as, different religions, different relationships, and different upbringings, all of that was going to take place. And that can be just slightly nerve-wracking for any parent. But yet, listen, in 2016 on that campus, there was a conversation that I had with an individual. There were a few different conversations, but with Dr. Herndon, I had just gleaned so much that it just comforted me. So listen, lean in and let me tell you just a little bit about him. So he is a native of Farmville, Virginia. He completed his undergraduate degree in communications and a master's degree in student development in higher education, and they both were earned from Howard University. In 2001, he earned his doctorate degree in higher education administration from Virginia Tech. And at Virginia Tech, he served as an academic advisor and director for undergraduate studies in the Department of Interdisciplinary Studies. Currently, he is employed as the university's director for summer and winter sessions, which is super exciting. My daughter did participate in that. And in this role, he works with department heads to plan for robust enrollments during these terms. Dr. Herndon is also the coordinator of Virginia Tech Summer Start, which is a program designed to provide first-year students a jump start on their college career. He is the editor of one book and the author of several scholarly journal articles. In 1997, he did become the first African-American student representative appointed to the Virginia Tech Board of Visitors, which I'm sure that carries a lot of responsibility. And he serves as the vice president for the Montgomery County, Radford City, Floyd County branch of the NAACP. He and his wife, Jean, are the parents of 2 adult sons. So really, he's coming to us from a parent perspective and a university administrator. So I am so excited that he's here. And I believe he's joining us now so that we all can meet them. I can share him with you all. Dr. Herndon, are you near?
I am. Yes.
Awesome. Well, welcome. And listen, let me just thank you for just taking the time out of your busy day to be with us and to just share a little bit from your area of expertise. Of course, not as a parent, not only as a parent, but as an administrator as well. And before we jump in, you know what? I would just like to ask just a fun question first before we just do a deep dive in. Tell us a little bit about your morning routine. Or is there anything in particular that you do in the mornings? Please share.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Lloyd. It's an honor and a privilege to be on your show, on your podcast. And I count you as a friend and a colleague, and just so glad to be here to share any knowledge that I may be able to impart. My typical morning begins with, I say a quick prayer, thanking God for waking me up this morning, and then I have a little dog. His name is Milo, and he's a Shih Tzu, and he can be very demanding in the morning. And so even before my alarm clock goes off, he marches upstairs to let me know it's time to go out. So that's always part of my morning routine. And then after he goes out, he greets all the neighbors and talks to everybody. Um, I'll typically come back in and have a nice cup of tea, typically Earl Grey.
Mm.
I love Earl Grey tea. And then some mornings I'll be adventurous and have a coffee. And then depending on which day of the week, sometimes my wife and we will go to boxing class before we go to work. So I've been boxing, or at least going to boxing classes since October of 2023. And that's been a life changer for me in terms of weight loss, meeting new people, and being a part of a larger community in Blacksburg. So that's pretty much my routine. And then, of course, going to work, checking in with everyone, emails, voicemails, just checking up with what has transpired over the night, just to make sure I get my day started and organized.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. And I love how you're already imparting wisdom already in reference to already being active. I know I mentioned those two adult sons, young adult sons. And so, for parents to already think about, those things that they would want to do, of course, that they enjoy. And for you and Jean to just lean into that already with boxing, I think that's so exciting. Good for you. Good for you. Tell me this, because I know that a number of parents, have this anxiety, and because their teens have just gone off and just last month, and some of them for the first time, and for some of the parents, this is their last teen going off, so they're getting adjusting to this whole empty nesting phase, etc. And so, tell me, what unique insights do you have as a university administrator that you can offer parents from a guidance perspective during this transition to college for their teens? What insights?
Okay, yes. So this morning, as I was thinking about participating in this activity in your podcast, and I'm a visual learner, I always try to look at things in terms of how would I visualize what I'm about to say. And the thing that came to me immediately was concentric circles. Just like we would throw a pebble in a pond or a river, and of course that pebble would create all these concentric circles from that initial pebble being thrown into the river or the pond. And I thought about our children in ways of being in concentric circles. In the center of that circle, and I conceptualized all this today. I mean, this is like, this came to me today. But those, our children or our students are in the center of that circle with their family. And each circle, as they spread out, there are different tasks or activities or responsibilities that they must develop and master. And they will master, all those activities in one circle. They'll go to the next one, and they'll go to the next one, and they'll go to the next one, and so forth. And they branch out. And so I'll give you an example. As parents, mothers, some others, they breastfeed their children, and then they go on to baby food and then solid food. Then we go through the potty training phase. And then, I'm not going to go through all the stages, but they develop all those different or master those different kinds of responsibilities. We start off with training wheels. Maybe they have a bike, and then the training wheels come off. And at each stage or at each circle, we give them a little bit more leeway, a little bit more responsibility. Mm-hmm. We trust them a little bit more. And so I thought about that in terms of us, having our children graduate from high school, going off into the workforce, going to the military, going to college. And so at each stage, we had to trust them. And so this is yet another stage where we have to trust them and believing that we have put everything in them from childhood up to 18 to be successful adults and to be contributors to society. So that's the first part of what I would say. And then the second part I would say is that get involved, but let your student, let your son or daughter take ownership of their own education. because they're going to be the ones in the classroom taking those exams. They're going to be the ones writing those research papers. They have to be the people engaged and go into office hours to visit faculty and so forth. But at the same time, another metaphor I would use is that your student is the main actor, and the family, we're supporting cast. So that student has to take some responsibility for him or herself to be engaged in their own education. But at the same time, with the family, make sure you learn about the different policies, the different kinds of activities that are available, that are already included in tuition and fees. For example, I'm still amazed at the number of people who don't realize that tutoring is available just just about every college or university campus across the country. In most cases, it's already built in, as part of the student fees and tuition. So make sure that you know the lay of the land and what's available. And of course, they may change from campus to campus, depending on, like in your case, you have your daughters, they've gone to 3 different colleges and universities. And so just learning what are those policies, what's available, and also even being aware of the local surroundings, the history of where you're sending your student and so forth.
Oh, that's good. Thank you so very much. And guess what? That did give me a visual. And when we talk about the pebbles in the centric circle, it seems to me, even in that visual, they're unable to skip steps. I mean, each step comes one after the other. There's some
that is so true. Very sequential. You got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run. And yes, so that also adds to it. You have to go from step to step. You can't skip.
Absolutely not. And as a parent myself, just wanted to share this thought before I then ask the next question. Is, it was so important for me to just be aware as a parent about what was offered on that campus, so that I could then redirect my daughter back to the campus, so that she can become more familiar with the resources that you were mentioning earlier, to begin advocating for herself. That was so important, that then I was aware.
Yes. Yes. Being aware of those resources, and as a parent and also as an administrator. So over the years, of course, I've been an administrator longer than I've been a parent, but all over the years throughout my career, I would always tell parents, you're going to be okay. Your student's going to be okay. So then when my 2 sons got ready to graduate from high school and go off to college, I then had to practice what I preached. I had to dive in, because both of my sons went to different universities other than Virginia Tech. So I had to find out, again, what were those resources, what scholarships would be available, and a lot of things that aren't necessarily apparent on websites. You really have to go behind the scenes and find, point people in different offices that can give you information that may not be readily available in a brochure, on a website, or in a text message.
That's good. That's good. Awesome. Awesome. So now, from your perspective, Dr. Herndon, as a university administrator, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges parents face during this transition from the home and then onto the campus?
Okay, yes. So I think one, so during this whole transition, students are transitioning, parents are transitioning, and one of the biggest things that I always hear from parents and also observe is really, to the point at which when do we cut the apron strings? Do we cut the apron strings and hold onto it just a little bit? And so what I've always advised parents, to let your student come here and explore the campus. There's so many, different academic offerings, so many cultural and community activities. And so one of the things that I've come across, especially in some of my research, on one hand, we need social support from parents and family members to make sure that students stay on track to graduate. But at the same time, sometimes that social support can go south, so to speak, when there's still expectations of the student that they had at home. So the expectations may change a little bit. So on one hand, you have students who are living under these new set of, community standards. And of course, you still, as my mother would say, you still have your home training when you leave the house. You don't forget, your home training, how you were raised, and those standards and those principles. So here your student is going out into the world and they're experiencing all these new things. And they have begun to develop a new set of expectations for themselves, based on where they are. And sometimes the family members still are operating under the old expectations when they still were in high school, right? And so it's trying to negotiate, to what extent do I still support my student and always be there for them? And at the same time, how do I, loosen up the apron strings? Some parents don't even cut the apron strings. They never get rid of the apron at all. I will tell you that. But for those who are willing to give the students a little bit of leeway and allow them to have a little bit more independence, you'll see, that student, flourishing and developing. And I'll give you a quick example of how it can be detrimental when we go too far with the social support. So there was a situation that I know of where a gentleman, a young Virginia Tech student, was applying for a position, and he negotiated the position and negotiated his salary. And his mom called the employer and blasted the employer about the salary offering. And so that company rescinded the offer. We're hiring you. We're not hiring, your family. We're not hiring your parents. So that's where, in that particular case, that parent still had the apron on and had given her son the leeway to explore and to begin to develop, and establish himself, as a professional. So, and that's a very rare, that's an extreme case. But there are situations where, we have people who just go a little bit beyond that. So I would say, let your student go to the university campus, let them explore, let them begin to develop their own, customs and traditions, integrated, of course, with their family background, but they're going to have some new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things that may be different from the way that they were raised.
Absolutely. And you're still painting visuals, specifically with that example you gave. Wow. And I can see how parents can struggle with the loss of daily involvement. You go from this daily involvement to then little to almost no involvement, especially if the teen does not call back.
Yes.
That can be a struggle for a parent, but you are just speaking, you are dropping gems. So helpful, so helpful. So how can parents then help their teens prepare? Now we're talking from an academic and an emotional perspective. How can parents help their teens to transition to college? We know giving them, of course, allowing them to make decisions and those types of things. Are there any other ways that you can think of that, whereas parents can really do them right now? Some of us, we have high school seniors right now. And so I know even for myself, I'm allowing my high school senior, I'm giving her the grocery list. And she's doing the groceries for the household when it comes to her doctor's and her dentist appointments. I mean, it's good for her to make those appointments. Those life skills are essential. So yes.
So encouraging them at home, and like you just mentioned, what kinds of things are they already doing at home that they can then build upon coming into the transition to university setting. So one of the things I'll mention Two, for a lot of parents, as students are applying to colleges and universities, if you have a student that's already, still currently in high school,
Mhm.
as they apply to these colleges and universities, and then of course once they settle on, where they've been accepted and where they want to go, make sure that you as a parent, you're on the emails and the information that will come out, because a lot of times on the admissions application, they will ask, is there another email address that you would like to enter, for example, a family member or a parent. And so that way you can, you don't, as a parent, you don't have to take over, but you can kind of keep your eyes on the ball to make sure that your student is keeping up with certain deadlines that may come about, for example, housing deposits, or when
Mhm.
people have to commit to a certain university. And then also at the same time, I would also encourage that parents, so we have this thing called FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. And FERPA is just like, for example, if we were to go to our primary care physician, we have HIPAA. So FERPA is similar to HIPAA in the sense that in HIPAA, all of your medical documents, remain private without, your consent that you would give to someone, to receive that information about your medical records. And FERPA does the same thing. So even though you as a parent, you're paying the tuition and fees, and you're doing all these other kind of things financially,
Mhm.
your student has to give the parent access to their academic records and their information. So I would tell you all, parents, do that. Make sure that's one of the first things that you all have done, because that's another way for you to support your student. So, for example, if a person doesn't have FERPA approval, if they were to call me now and they would say, Michael Herndon, can you tell me what grade my student made in psychology? Well, I can't tell them unless they have a FERPA passcode. And if they have that FERPA passcode, then I can share information as appropriate with the family member. But if they don't, um, it's just, again, like your medical record, you can't share the information without prior approval from the student. And so that's a way that parents, family members can support their student, because if I see, for example, some universities will give out a midterm grade just to let you know, like, how are you progressing in a particular class. And if the parent knows, well, Johnny or Susie, made a C- on the midterm, then if I'm a vigilant parent, then I will ask my son or daughter, have you looked into tutoring? Have you signed up for tutoring? Have you
Mhm.
gone to the professor during office hours? Have you spoken to the teaching assistant? What are the things that you've already done? Again, this goes back to taking ownership of your own education and claiming responsibility for yourself. But at the same time, it's always good to have cheerleaders in the background cheering you on in that supporting cast that I mentioned. So that's one way uh, to support them. And then another thing, some people may think this is negative, but I don't think it is. But allow them or give them the grace to fail,
Mhm.
but at the same time, don't let them stay down. Help them to get back up.
Mhm.
Show them that, yes, all of us go through struggles. All
Mhm.
of us have challenges. We all of us have obstacles that a lot of people have overcome adversity. So
Mhm.
how do you teach them and help them to persevere in, the presence of adversity? So yeah, if they, just like back to that visual again, if they were on the training wheels and then the training wheels on the bike were taken off, and if they fell and they, skinned their knee, well, as a parent, we would, help them we would clean off that wound,
Mhm.
get back on that bike, And the same thing with, being in a university setting. Let them, go through an adversity, but yes, be there with them, and you can coach them and let them know that, this won't, you know, this too shall pass.
Mhm.
How do
Mhm.
you get through that and also still maintain all of your other daily responsibilities that you have?
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
one of the things that I've seen, over the years, with the change in the demographic of students who come to a college campus. Um, some of the some of the problems or issues that students 10 years wouldn't have thought about as being, a problem. Some students today may see that as an exponential problem. And of course, we've been through a lot of things through COVID and all kinds of things. And so just being aware of, your students' mental state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And also, even though they may be far away on another campus, um, kind of get a sense of who's in their social circle.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's very important. So that was one of the things I always told my boys, to make sure that when you go out in the world, whether it's the workforce or in the university setting, make sure you surround yourself around good people. So I'll ask them, who are your friends and what are they doing and what are they about, and then most lastly, I'll say this and I'll shut up.
Oh, this is
Most
good.
colleges and universities have a parents weekend, and I
Mm.
know for some folks it may be cost prohibitive. If you live on, you know, another coast, if your student goes to school on the East Coast and you live on the West Coast, maybe that might be a stretch. But if possible, go on that parents weekend
Mm.
and see what's going on. And that's another opportunity for you to not only support your student in person, but again, to see the lay of the land, and how that person is progressing, and looking at them eyeball to eyeball to see how are they really doing and flourishing on that campus.
Awesome, awesome. That is so important. That parents' weekend is important, giving them the grace to fail, although that's a tough pill to swallow. But I mean, it does teach growth in our teens. And for those who are joining us, we're talking to Dr. Michael Herndon, Director of Summer Sessions here at Virginia Tech, and he is dropping gems left and right. I'm so excited. So we've talked a little bit about just how the university helps our teens, and so the role that universities play in helping the parents, and you've mentioned some already in reference to staying connected and being at of course the parent weekend and all of that. So let me ask you this: what advice do you have for parents who are struggling with the feeling of anxiety and sadness because their teens have already left home, or their teens may be leaving home here within the next year? What advice?
Okay, yes, that's a great question. So one of the things that I also needed to mention, so
Okay.
within the last 10, 15 years, all across the country,
Mhm.
different colleges and universities have opened up, and they may be called different things on different campuses, but typically it's a parent and family office. It's a resource office for parents and families. And so here at Virginia Tech, like a lot of other universities, we have one of those offices, and it's fully staffed with about three full-time um, faculty staff persons. And they will, one, help you as a parent to negotiate, all of the terrain of being a parent or a guardian or family member of your student on that campus. And so they have resources online. A lot of them will have those, and they'll have topics, how to deal with, you know, the transition. How do you deal with the transition as a parent? And so in some cases, the students are faring better than the parents are. And so there will be resources for students as well as their family members. So that's one resource that's there and available for parents and family members. And then going back to my visuals that I had, earlier, if we trusted our students, back to those concentric rings, if we trusted them, getting to one stage and they did well, and then they went to the next one. Well, this is yet another station. Yes, I had anxiety, especially when my second son got his driver's license, and when he got the full blown license and he was out there. Um, but I had to trust that he knew what he was doing, and I said a prayer for him, before he got out on the road. And so that's been one thing personally, if I may use a personal example, for me to reduce my anxiety and my angst about that. I would just say a quick prayer, and I'm not saying that that's the be all end all, because we also have to take action with that. But I would do that at least to calm my fears, to calm my nerves, but then again to take advantage of all of the resources that are available. And then lastly, there are on our jobs, depending on where people work, um, in a part of our benefits package, a lot of people will have resources there on their job. So if it means for a parent or a family member to see a therapist, or to have a focus group, uh, or or to have not a focus group. I meant to mention we have a lot of Facebook pages. So, for example, my son currently goes to the University of Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
And at the University of Richmond, there is a parents' Facebook page run and administered by the parents. And the same thing here at Virginia Tech. So there will be parents that will go on and they will type in a question: how can you help me identify an internship for my student for the summer? Can you tell me about X? And parents will give their experiences about what they know about that particular topic. So that has helped me, even as a parent, working, with administrators and faculty and other family members at another university. So take advantage of, if there's an Instagram page or any other social media, that's one way to help you to also then get connected with resources on campus. And in this case, people who, you can get a name and an email and a telephone number of a contact person on campus to help you to alleviate your fears and your concerns, and also at the same time support your student.
You're so right. Those parent-centered communities are pivotal. They are. I can remember this one particular time when at the ninth hour, India needed to come home, and when I just simply placed in it, and it could have been the Facebook page, just that, is anyone coming home in 2 weeks to Texas? Now we're talking about parents whom I'm thinking a majority are in Virginia or other states, but two parents said yes. My son or my daughter is driving to Texas, and so India was able to catch a ride and come all the way home and then go back. And I don't know if she went back with the person or if she flew, but just that community was very, very important. So right, getting involved there is it's very important. You're so right about that. So last but not least, some common mistakes parents make during the college transition. Have you seen any transitional errors that parents have made that you're aware of? Because sometimes in India, she even came before, just so she can be acclimated to the college campus before school even started. She came to the summer session, which she still has some of those same friends she met there, which was phenomenal. When other students were coming to the campus, of course, she already knew her way around. She already had friends. So her acclimation was quick, and it was already solid by the time school started. So would you say, what are some common mistakes that parents make when that college transition takes place?
Okay, yes. So again, back to the deadlines,
Mhm.
making sure that people are aware of that, the academic as well as the financial policies. So I'll
Mhm.
give you a quick example. The university will send, of course, all of the primary information to the student. And then, of course, the students are, the parents and family members are being financially responsible for that. So I've had situations where parents would call me because they had me as a connection, and they were a little bit disappointed, upset, irate that they were being charged a late fee
Mm.
because they didn't know that the bill had been posted in the student's account. So again, just kind of staying on track with that. And so what I did with my sons, I told them, if you all want me to be financially responsible, And if there's an announcement or a bill or an invoice or anything that comes in that you want me to be financially responsible for, and you haven't told me, and if there's a deadline that we haven't met because you didn't tell me, then you are going to be responsible for the late fee. So that happened one time, and after that, I had them. They always were Johnny on the spot. Dad, this is due such and such a date. Mom, we need to get this in, so my classes won't be dropped. So that's one thing. Again, being vigilant, being aware, and always asking them and nudging them about certain responsibilities. And then again, going back to that parent resource page that may be online and in those social media, a lot of them will even make announcements to say, or remind parents, parents reminding each other, have you all made your room deposit? Have you done this? Have you done that? So that's one thing. Then the other thing that I've seen to some extent, I've heard this more than I would say about 5 times throughout the year. Students who are here on campus, again going back to those expectations, where Johnny is now off at the university, but Johnny's family is still expecting him to perform certain tasks or responsibilities. So, for example, if grandma has a doctor's appointment, every other Thursday, in some cases, Johnny is still expected to drive back 3 hours, 4 hours away to take grandma to the hospital. So that's where some cases, some family members, you can enhance a person's progress, and then in other cases, you can impede their progress because Johnny needs to be here on campus, studying for that mechanical engineering exam. So again, that's been something that has been a stronghold, if you will, for some students. And I've heard students say, well, I have to drive back home. And sometimes this will also spill over into other activities, family reunions. And maybe that student really wants to be there, and maybe the family members want that student to be there. But again, letting them be free to study uninterrupted. And there are other kinds of events that students have told me about that they were expected to be there, and especially for some students who want to make sure that. So there's a lot of research that talks about students when they come to a college university setting, they must integrate themselves into the campus culture, become academically and socially integrated into that culture. So, and then they also, some of the research, I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but they will say you need to relinquish yourself from some of your family responsibilities. So what's common, especially with a lot of students of color, we're in a new setting, academic and social setting, and at the same time, we want to still be supportive of what's going on back home. So as W.E.B. Du Bois, would always talk about the souls of Black folk. Sometimes students are, trying to negotiate 2 different worlds, this new world that they're in a university setting, but also still trying to be supportive of what's going on back home. And so that can be a tension that's there. So to answer the question, if parents will just say, hey, Johnny, Susie, you go to that campus and you do your thing, and we're here supporting you, and we're cheering you on. And, if you can't make it back to the family reunion, that's okay. You can live stream it. You can look at updates on Facebook and so forth like that to free them of that, not putting a guilt trip on them for not coming back to some of those family activities.
You have just given a plethora of information over the time we've spent together. I mean, usually I walk away from these episodes, I've jotted down maybe like 3, 4, or 5. I have a whole page of just thoughts that I know will be valuable to parents whose teens have already transitioned out of the home and onto the college campus and will transition out over the next year or two. And some of the takeaways, I'll just pull out some of those. I love, again, the pebbles and the centric circles, and making sure, of course, that our teens are not missing any steps that they need to in order to grow as they're transitioning. Also, realizing and being cognitive that our students are the main actors and we're the supporting cast. But sometimes we as parents, we want to be the main actors with our teens.
Yes.
And then administrators on the university campus, like you all, you're just busy wanting to focus on our student who's been accepted to the university. But then here it is. We just try to just come with the student, and you just kind of want us to just begin creating just the slight distance. And so I'm hearing that, and that's awesome. And then also, that struggle as it relates to the parent having there being a loss as far as the daily involvement is concerned. And we as parents, we just need to make sure that we're thinking through that this is a different stage, this is a different age, and it's time for them to, even if it means them failing here and there, they'll grow from it, and then we can support them through that growth. And then being involved, Parents Weekend, knowing that there's a parent resource office, that's good. And I know that that's going to be valuable. And then making sure that, yes, we've held our teens accountable for letting us know when some billing and payments may be due. Now, I may borrow that idea that you mentioned, them picking up the late fee. I'm sure that would help them to stay on top of the finances, the finance part of it. Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Herndon. Were there any final words you wanted to share with us? I so enjoyed the time that we just spent with you. Anything else that you'd like to share? Mm-hmm.
Well, I would just say whatever you do, and I always live by this, whatever I want to do in life, I want to do it with excellence and accuracy. And I would say that's the same that also holds for parenting. Let's be excellent in what we do as parents and supportive of our family members, and let us, be accurate, in the way we carry that out. And even if we mess up, we fall down, we get back up and keep going, and but always strive for excellence, and impart that into your student.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And for those who have viewed or been in and out, of course, if you want to rewatch this recording, it's on our Lloyd Learning Labs website and on our Pointers for Parents podcast, of course, on our social media as well. And Dr. Herndon, listen, thanks again. We so appreciate you. This was time well spent, as it always is when you and I have come together to converse. So thank you. And maybe, who knows, within the next month or the next year, we'd love to invite you back, because you will have had even more experiences under your belt then.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thank you so very much. And thank you all for joining. Appreciate it. Goodbye. Pointers for Parents Live podcast. Why should you enroll in the Ultimate Transition Success Program? Well, the modules, the interactive implementation-based modules within the program will teach you about yourself and your teen, and the new relationship that you and your teen will have both before and after transition day.